This is for Advanced Algebra, Chapter 11, Section 2, homework video. We're going to look at 5 problems, first one being number 18. I'm supposed to find the sum of the indicated series. And I can tell from the information that I'm given that I'm supposed to find the sum of the first 21 terms in this series. I have these two equations. I have to decide based on the information I'm given which one I should use. In the case of number 18, I know the first term, I know that there's 21 numbers total that I'm adding together, and I know the last term is supposed to be 176. So when it says a sub n is 176, I have a number for n. This is really saying a sub 21 is 176. So based on this, I'm going to use that second formula. I'm going to find the sum of the first 21 numbers in this series. Plug the numbers in. N is 21, a sub 1, 76, and a sub n, a sub 21, 176. And I go through, the whole right side is numbers. I type it in my calculator. I evaluate it in my head, whichever you prefer. And I now know that the sum of the first 21 numbers in this series is 2,646. Next problem we're going to look at is number 22. In this instance, they tell me D. That's the common difference. Well, if I look at my two series equations, this one has a common difference. Do I have everything else that I need? Sure. I have the first term, and I have n, how many numbers I'm actually adding together. So I can use that first equation to find s sub 13. I'll plug the numbers in for the respective letters, n being 13, a sub 1 is 12, my common difference is a third, and n is 13 again. And again, the whole right side of my equation is numbers. I can type in my calculator. I need to evaluate that right side to figure out my sum. So if I do some bits and pieces of it here, I'll end up with 6.5 times 28. 6.5 times 28 is 182. So the sum of the first 13 numbers in this series is 182. Next problem we're going to look at is number 30. Number 30 is supposed to find the sum of the indicated series. This is all the information they give me. So maybe before I do anything else, I take a look, what information can I get out of this series, this list of numbers? Well, I can see that the first number, a sub 1, is 7. I can take a look that as I go from one number to the next, I'm adding 7. So my common difference, my D, is 7. And I can see the very last number that I'm going to add is 98. So I know my first number and my last number. What I don't know, and I need to know, is n. Because no matter which equation I use here, I need to know how many numbers that I'm actually adding together. Well, how do I find n? I use the formula from section 1. Section 1, a sub n is equal to a sub 1 plus d times n minus 1. I have everything that I need to use that formula from section 1. I know my first term is 7. I know my common difference is 7. I don't know n. That's the variable. What's a sub n? A sub n is the 98. So now I can solve this first section equation to find how many numbers I'm actually represented in this series. So I'll go through and I'll solve for n. I'll do my normal algebra equation solving techniques. And I get n to be 14. Now that's not my final answer. I needed n in order to be able to use a formula. Because now if I take a look, what I was able to figure out originally just from the series itself and the fact that I now know n, I could use either equation. Now, no special reason other than it's a little bit shorter, I'm going to use the second equation. I'm going to find the sum of the first 14 terms. Why am I putting 14 there? Because that's what I figured out n to be equal to. And then I'll go through and I'll substitute all the other numbers I have. My first term is 7. I know this 14th value is 98. And now again, the whole right side of my equation is numbers. I plug it into my calculator. If you're adventurous, maybe you try it in your brain. And I get the sum of the first 14 terms to be 735. There's my answer to number 30. Next one is a summation. I'm supposed to find the sum represented by that specific sigma notation. So what does this mean to do? What this means to do is I take that lower limit, which is the 1, and I substitute it in for n. So this notation means I'm first supposed to figure out 2 minus 3 times 1. I put a 1 in for n. Then I'm supposed to figure out 2 minus 3 times 2. Then I figure out 2 minus 3 times 3. How do I know when to stop? When I get to that upper limit. So I still need 2 minus 3 times 4. I need 2 minus 3 times 5. All right, so what does each of these equal here? Let's see, the first one is negative 1, negative 4, negative 7, negative 10, negative 13. And maybe you see a relationship between the common difference here and the equation itself or the formula. Either way, once I have all those numbers generated, I have to add them up. Because that's what this sigma means. I'm supposed to sum some numbers. And I add them all up, all the green numbers, and I'll get negative 35. There's my answer for 34. Number 42. Number 42 says find the first 3 terms. Well, I know the first term. What I need here is a sub 2 and a sub 3. This will be my answer. Well, in order to be able to know what the second and third term is, I need a common difference. But I don't have enough information to find my common difference. I need to know n. So, what can I do? I can use this second equation here that I'm putting a box around to help me find n. How do I do that? Well, I know S sub n is 18,423. I have the first term. I have the first term right here. And I have a sub n. So I have numbers for every piece of that boxed formula right now except n, which is what I need to figure out in the first place. So if I make that substitution here, 18,423 is equal to n divided by 2 times negative 13 plus 427. I can solve that for n, so I know exactly how many numbers I'm adding together. So I go through my algebra equation process. And however you like to do it, whatever steps you like to solve or use to solve this, here I'm multiplying by 2. And I'll divide by 414. Oops. I'll get n to be equal to 89. So now what? Well, now that I know n, I could use the first equation to find D, to find that common difference. Because I have S sub n, I know n, I got a sub 1, I need D, and I got a number for n again. So I have 18,423 is going to be equal to 89 divided by 2 times 2 times negative 13 plus, and I'm kind of going off at an angle here, aren't I? D times 89 minus 1. And now I have an equation that I have to be able to solve for D. Now I'm going to jump a couple of steps here in the equation solving process. Eventually I could end up with something that would look like this. 414 equals negative 26 plus 88D. And then I can finish it off here, and I'll get D to be equal to 5. I know my common difference is 5. That allows me now to go from the first term to the second, second to the third. I know if I start at negative 13 and I add 5, I'll get negative 8. Negative 8, I add 5, I'll get negative 3. And I have the first 3 terms now for my